The dream never changes, the same few frames from a horror cartoon. First he's diving into the murky water like a crocodile drowning its prey. The water grabbed him hardly, not letting go until he had his last breath. He was dead. As I always do, I woke up sweating, thinking about the memory. I can't help it. For about 2 or 3 times a week I come and sit in my spot by the river where the Virginia used to be. It's peaceful and the trees seem to run in lines up and down the canal, an oasis in the subordinate desert. Dad's constantly going on about making Hajj next year, if he can afford it. Personally, I think the bench is better. Why go all the way to Mecca when you've got a life to live in West London? It all started as a joke. He looked like he'd never washed for 6 years. He was waving his stick with so much anger he almost knocked our heads off. "Loony, what a loony!" yelled Gary and Robbie, waving their arms and legs out like a drowning dog, trying to imitate the old man. All the other boats along the canal were all freshly painted, and the flower pots were. His was all dirty and overflowing with rubbish heaps. Torn back plastic bags littered the decks. Pots, pan and plastic bottles spilled from the cabins, completing the wild modern sculpture that was Virginia. You could only just make out the name, but how could you live like that? The next time we just had to go on board and get a better look at the horrible old boat. A strange smell came from the below. It was the smell of rotting fruit and out-of-date bread. We held our noses and leapt back onto the canal side, but it was too late. He heard our footsteps on the deck, and he came after us, shouting at us, telling us to go away. As we ran away, we heard him say, "Leave me alone, please leave me alone, why can't you?" But we didn't. The following day we came back. It wasn't my idea, it was Gary's idea to untie the muddy Virginia. He thought it would be cool to see what would happen. When the man found himself adrift, he rose like a devil and chucked himself at us. Every second the gap widened between the boat and the canal side, where we stood frozen to the spot. It rained in the night, so the deck was slippy. He tripped on a bucket and splosh! He fell into the murky water. You know the rest. Gary couldn't swim and Robbie and I stared at each other helplessly. It was then that we realised we couldn't help him. We've killed him. No one had seen what happened, so we legged it. "Listen," said Gary with an angry look, "we don't tell anyone, okay? Never." We had seen Gary angry, but not this much. You understand me? Go on, swear it. We had to. About 3 days later I saw the shocking headline in the local evening paper, "War Hero Drowns." His full name was Ethan Neville. During 1941 he single-handedly sailed that floating pile of rubbish to Dunkirk, automatically converting himself to a big part of British history. The Virginia had come under heavy fine. Ethan had hardly got away with his life, but he'd been the same again. He'd never felt like he could leave his beloved Virginia. 9 years later, and still no one knows the truth about Ethan Neville. That's strong friendship for you. Tomorrow is going to be my last pilgrimage to the canal side. On Monday, I'm going to join the army, and my dad is so proud of me, but I'm wondering where I will be placed. Afghanistan or Arabia? Somehow, I've got to do something nice for the old man.